Today we are going to launch a poetry anthology written by Shibi.S. She is from Kodungalur. Her husband is from Tirindi. He is from the family of Sardar Gopalakrishnan and MLA Arunan Master. Mr. Biju is now working in FACT as General Manager. So we have a group of eminent speakers here. I welcome I.Shanmughadas sir. He will chair the function. T.G.Ajitha, she will facilitate the function, and Parvathy Varrier, she will launch the book here. Then Venkata Reddy, he will also facilitate the book. Then Biju sir, he will speak about the book, and Natasha Padma, she will receive the book. Now I welcome I.Shanmughadas sir to chair the function. Welcome you, sir.
I'm very, very happy to be here with lovers of English language and lovers of poetry. It's really a very rare occasion when we gather together to release a book in English in Kerala. Many years back, I remember a simple occasion when our friend St.Thomas, who is right now a professor at St.Thomas College, when his poetry collection was released, that must be some 5 or 10 years back. I think I need not introduce everybody, but I think I should say something about Parvathy teacher, because she was here near this college as the head of department of St. Mary's College, and she used to write poetry years back, and I think that a book was published recently or years back?
That's 5 years back.
5 years back. Now my memory of Parvathy teacher is actually that of a poet writing in English, and she won a prize. That must be many years back, at least 20 years back, more than that. I should also mention another thing. Of course, if I make mistakes, she will correct me. And I hope that I'm not wrong right now when I say this. She won Vanitha Ratna Award in 2019, am I right? In 2020, Vanitha Ratna Award. We know that from Thrissur, Shivami won it recently. So she is here to release the book. And we have with us Natasha, a budding poet, who is right now a student of English BA at Kerala College. She is there to receive the book. And Mr. Reddy, for more than 30 years, I think, he has been here in Kerala, and he knows Malayalam, though he is from Telangana. You said Telangana, Andhra, right? So, on behalf of Chalachitra Kendram and my friend Gireesh, I welcome him once more. And I think it would be improper for me to, welcome Dr. Biju. She is from our college. Our college, in the sense, I was a student here for 7 years at St.Thomas College. And I will be brief. I will say a few things about the book. The poet Shibi is with us. And this book, the Self-Portrat, this is the book. As the title of the book itself reveals, that this book is more of the personal kind of book. She expresses more of herself in the sense that there is one line in one particular poem. I do not know whether I should reduce her poetry to that one line. I'm just selecting that line to talk about the mood in which she writes. The champion of worries. The first 3 poems present for us a recurring image, and that image is that of the falling leaf. And in the 4th poem, there is a reference to autumn. Even though there is at times gaiety, at times gladness in her poems, she writes mostly about being lonely, being silent, like that. She also is to correct me, if I have made some broad generalization. I will read just a few lines from her introductory kind of poem, a reason to write, sort of a manifesto kind of poem, a reason to write. Why do writers love to write? Writers love writing because they want to write about what they think, or they get a chance to write about their thoughts, their feelings on something. What we call inspiration depends or varies from person to person. All my good and bad memories, my fallen wishes, both happy and sad moments of my life, here act as a source of inspiration, forcing me to put pen to paper. So instead of writing a sort of introduction, in prose, introduction to her own poetry is in verse. My book, The Self-Portrat, is a poetry collection, a segment of poetry in which you can find my thoughts, my feelings, memories, both good and bad, my dream, my innocence as a child, my heavy heart, my home as a paradise, my lost liberty, and so on, and everything related to myself. And after a few lines, here is a line. I'm a girl in the rain. I'm a girl in the rain. Rainwater like tears. So, in the first few poems, references to her childhood, her innocence, her solitude, her silence. She has written about God, about the dreams, about memories, and the silence and solitude. These two experiences are just part of the totality of our experience. read a few lines from the last poem, The Soulmate. Who is a perfect soulmate? A true friend of mine, a well-wisher who supports me without selfishness and evil, one who thinks of himself can be a good companion, a lovable helpmate, a partner, a significant other, a consort. Maybe my whims and fancies, which always do urge in my mind to believe in a perfect soulmate, about which I don't know whether I'm that happy, because that particular poem is a poem which is about an enemy. That poem seems to be about one particular individual. The individual is not clearly mentioned, but one particular woman appears in that poem as a sort of a villain, as a sort of a, as an enemy, Another poem, I don't remember the name of that particular poem in which there is a woman who is a sort of a villain, in this book. You remember that particular poem? There is a poem against one particular individual. Yeah, that cruel lady. Now, let me quote from another poem, which is also about a lady. Oh yes, it could be this one, the worthless lady. The worthless lady. A woman of little worth, of no value or importance, its quite a pitiable state, being desolate and bereft. She was abandoned by her creators in her childhood. None gave her solace. Now this is the different point. Being the child of Almighty, she grew up ever so greatly. Everything was bestowed and lavished to her whims and fancies. A tint of sheer gladness mixed with pure sadness makes her mind still time and time again. Another poem is the title My Heavy Heart. I will read that poem also. My heart is hefty, so dense that I can't bear the massive weight of sad, impenetrable thoughts. Much ago, the pain was unbearable, though this oppressiveness has been carried from time immemorial. Life is slow and clumsy, carrying that wondrous burden on the back. How laborious and dreary. But to put down this mass for a while, thought over and over, it has been a habit. There is another poem in which she tries to balance both sorrow and gladness, the rusted life, the last 4 lines. This particular poem has this note of hope. Life is beautiful, swung between gay or grey. Act life beautifully, whether happy or sorrow. The rest of life. I will conclude with a reference to another poem. I was talking about this balancing between happiness and sorrow. The title of this poem is The Golden Arms. My vacant heart welcomes tides and evils, both gain and torture, multiplying hidden secrets. Why not quit? Quit from gloom, quit from silence, or sad, heavy musings. Shut the doors and windows of your ruthless mind, then raise your hands to beg for forgiveness, beg for peace and joy, these gifts of Almighty. Believe in Him forever to gain eternal happiness. So, with these words from the particular poem, let me conclude my words as personal practice. Let us now have the main function, that is the book release, I invite Professor Parvathy and Natasha, a budding poet from St.Thomas College, to receive it. She will be releasing the book. Please, Professor Parvathy, teacher will now address the word.
Greetings to all. There is an irresistible yearning in each one for self-expression. And when that longing is satisfied, a work of art is set to be born. At the very outset, I would like to congratulate Shibi for bringing out this book of poems. I congratulate her especially because he doesn't follow the accepted traditions, the traditional, the romantics or the old English poets. She has her own way of expressing. It's a self-expression. She expresses herself in words, in language, in poetry. Nor does she follow the ultra-modern, shocking tactics that we find around. So neither old-fashioned nor modern, she has her own individuality. I am reminded of Emerson's famous words, imitation is suicide. When you imitate someone blindly, somebody commits suicide. It is our individuality. When you imitate, your individuality commits suicide. So I congratulate Shibi for being herself, continue to be yourself. If the purpose of art is to instruct, to please, that's what the famous writers told us years back. It should instruct, it should please, it should persuade. If the purpose of art is to instruct, to persuade, to please, her poems please, by pleasing instructions, persuade. In some poems, she tells you, without telling, she tells you, do this, don't do this. How is it possible? That is what I like about her poetry. When you read the poem, the first poem, I can't remember everything. The first thing I would like to tell you is, I could read the entire book at one sitting. In 1 hour, I could finish. Some books, when you start reading, you will keep it there. Tomorrow I'll read again. But this is not like that. There is no strain in reading her poems. So the first one, first poem, I believe, I have noted down, that's why I can't remember everything. This collection of poems very appropriately begins with a highly evocative poem on silence. Each moment is a drop of silence. Who wants silence nowadays? Very few people are for silence. Listen to the music in the films or the theatre when you go. It's a pollution of sound. Everybody wants sound, whereas she is for silence. She wants silence. That's really strange, different. Each moment is a drop of silence. Silent drops, silent moments in which I really want to dip myself till I take my last breath. The poet longs to dip herself in deep silence to the end. So she is for silence. And the next poem is The Autumn. It begins with the observation of falling leaves, but ends on a note of wisdom. That is poetry. From the particular, you can go to some general truth, general statement. That's what she has. The poem might appear simple, but it is not that simple as you think. When you go deeper and deeper, you will understand. It begins with an observation every day that we see what seasons change as time passes. Autumn, what will happen? Leaves fall. It happens, but she teaches a lesson in the end. One day we all shall fall down. If the aim of art, as I said earlier, is to please, to instruct or to persuade, Shibi.S writings instruct by pleasing and by pleasing. The fallen leaf of life unfold a practical philosophy here. The fallen leaves. I belong to a tree among many leaves I leave. Then leaves are green, but they change to yellow later. Time has come to fall down like a yellow leaf fallen down. That's another universal principle expressed in a very simple manner. Simplicity is not something to be laughed at. There is a grandeur even in the very simple things in life. So simplicity is also a mark of good poetry. Charles Lamb wrote simple prose. Simplicity. We don't have to use complex words as the modern poets use. It was Emerson, the famous critic, modern critic, who wrote a book on 7 types of ambiguity. 7 types of ambiguity. Now today's modern poetry is an example of the 8th type of ambiguity, I should say. That is the 8th. We should not understand anything when you read a poem. Whether in Malayalam, I am interested in Malayalam poetry also. Whether in Malayalam or English. In Malayalam they say Duruhada. Duruhada is necessary if you are a poet. The reader should not understand anything. Oh, then you will become a great poet. That I cannot accept that. Then there is the epochs of life. The poem begins with a universal truth and with an advice not to curse destiny. It is human nature to curse destiny. Destiny, you should be the master of your destiny. I believe in that, personally. You can't blame fate or destiny. You should be able to change your future. You can change if you have a willpower. So this poem, I like it because life is a drama. Shakespeare also said life is a drama. But there is a change where each one has a role to play. Life is a game, she adds, along with that. Along with the oft-quoted line, life is a theatre, drama. She adds, it is a game too. If you want to win, you have to play the game very well. So it begins with the universal truth and ends with the advice, never curse destiny. Don't say, because if your child fails in the examination, she has written, the child has written the B.Tech exam 4 times, he couldn't complete it. You can't say it is fate or destiny. It is not that. Maybe the child did not study. So, you should, in this scientific age, you should not believe, I can't say you should not believe, I don't believe in destiny. I don't believe too much in destiny. Then, I am speaking about a few poems that I like. A prayer for eternal peace. She seems to be always after peace and tranquility. That means there is restlessness or unrest everywhere around. You open the TV, what do you find? Read the newspapers. I have stopped reading newspapers. I don't watch TV because there was a time when we used to say, I used to advise girls, don't be so much interested in serials. Now serials are much better than TV news. Which is better? That's the question now. So, a prayer for eternal peace. She wants lasting peace. That is what everyone wants. The whole world needs. When she says, I need lasting peace, it is not Shibi. The entire world is yearning for, longing for peace, because we find restlessness or unrest everywhere, lack of peace. It's a beautiful poem exhorting us to turn to God for peace. God will be able to give you peace if you believe in a God. If not, you can't. Nowhere else, she says, she seems to have strong faith in God, and she believes that only God can give you eternal peace. Then I am reminded of Robert Browning's words, Shibi, on earth broken hearts, in heaven a perfect round, said Robert Browning. On earth you can't be a perfect individual, perfect in everything. We will all be broken hearts. Only in heaven you can hope to be a perfect round. So, something I was reminded of that while reading this poem. Then, the wings nipped off. It's an interesting poem. She is, freedom and peace together. Freedom is peace. That is her lesson to you all when you read. Freedom is peace and peace is freedom. What else? So if you want, I want to fly high up in the sky where I can freely glide, move joyfully where I could simply soar. If I want to go and catch the moon, I must be able to do that. I should have the freedom to do that. Then I will say, I am free, I am enjoying peace. So what is peace? Peace is doing what you wish to do. That is fulfillment. That leads to peace. That's how I interpret this poem. Then, my mother. I cannot read that poem without tears dripping down my cheeks. Many of us will feel that. A thought about mother. It is about mother. Only about mother you will feel that. A simple poem. It's a very simple poem. But paying a glowing tribute to mother. Her mother or your mother or my mother. All the mothers, you cannot have it was Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa who said, I think you cannot think of a bad mother, but you can think of a bad son. I think he said something to that effect. I thought of it. She was an angel from heaven who lovingly kept me beside her in my ignorant childhood years. Now, where is that fondness? That fondness you can't find anywhere. You can't find around your husband. You can't find it around your children. You will find it only in your mother. Only when you think of your mother. What else can a daughter say about her mother? It's a very good poem. The true winner. Here she is not, the poet is not depressed. A ray of hope flashes from somewhere. Who is a winner? The winner of everything. He is an achiever, the master of success. She is not, the poet is not without hope. there is hope. O Lord, bless all justly and grant fairly. I like that stanza. Without much bend, as all are alike. She is not selfish. The poet is not selfish. She wants everyone to be an achiever, everyone to be a winner. Usually I pray to God, I should be the winner. But she prays. She wants everyone to be a winner. So that's the poem. Let all be achievers. The steady winners, there might not be losers. It's a game of life. That is important. It's to be underlined. In the game of life, live beautifully, happily, doing your duty. It's all implied in the poem. A poem, new critics say that poem has an unparaphrasable meaning. But I can paraphrase the meaning of her poems in many ways, not only one way. So, let all be achievers, the steady winners. There might not be losers. No one should lose. It's a game of life. In the game of life, she wishes, she longs, she wants everyone to play well and be an achiever. So that's a very good poem, the true winner. Who is the winner? There is no contest in life. All should be winners in life. So that universal outlook, that's something to be appreciated. Then there is another poem, Destiny. She is obsessed with the idea of destiny, I think. It's a small poem. It ends. Certainly worn out and fatigued, I am weak, I am drained, help me God to soar up high. I pray to you, change my destiny. Shibi, God cannot change your destiny unless and until you cooperate. So you have to change your destiny after all if you want. Then fragments of my mind. I think I like this poem more than all other poems in this collection. Fragments of my mind, because it is really different. It begins on a different note and it ends on a varied note. We often say that when you are angry with a person, with your child, or with your friend, we say, I gave him a piece of my mind. I was so angry with him, as I was terribly shocked. I couldn't control my anger and a piece of my mind fell on him. I gave him a piece of my mind. How she seems to tell you how careful you should be in using words. Words, when they fall once, you cannot take them back. It is very difficult. Think before you speak, when you are angry especially. The fallen piece was again broken into segments. That one piece was broken into small pieces. With much hue and cry, I tried to collect them all. After speaking, that bad word, a curse on the other, how can you collect all those pieces, the fragment broken into small pieces, can you collect them? See that? With much hue and cry, I tried to collect them all. There were many parts of it, torn and worn, both happiness and sorrow scattered all over there. I hope I could put back together each of the fragments to heal my mind's wound. Who is wounded? More than the one who got a piece of the other's mind. I am wounded. I was angry with him. I gave a piece of my mind to him, and then it was broken to small pieces. I tried to gather them, but I was not able to gather them. And who is wounded? I am more wounded than the other, the one who received a piece of my mind. So I hope I could put back together each of the fragments to heal my mind's wound and rejuvenate from anguish. So I feel miserable. I feel I should not have done that. But a word spoken is gone from you. You are no more in charge of that word. That's a very beautiful poem of good utterances, I should say. Then where is God? That's a pertinent question. I remember God in all my pains and prosperity, regretting the past futile days. Oh God, where were you? Where were you? When I enjoyed my life, I couldn't see you. When I was in misery, I couldn't see you. Why couldn't you show me the ways of accomplishments, the path of victory? I feel I was away from you. When you are away from God, you won't be able to see God showering His blessings on you. You cannot see God pronouncing His curse on you. You cannot see if you are away from God. Why couldn't you take me up in your safe hands when struggling to win? Now my heavy heart mourns, being truly weak and tired, slowly walking with my delicate legs. Oh God, I long for you to fulfill my forlorn wishes. This is actually the poet's prayer. We are nothing. We cannot do anything until or unless some light guides me. Call it God or anything. It cannot be done. That is a trace of humility, I should say. I can do it myself. She doesn't say that. The poet doesn't say that. She cannot do it herself without an outside, an external blessing or help or assistance, whatever you call. Altogether, I should say, this is a very good attempt. This collection is a very good attempt by Shibi or Shibi. But I would say that she has to go miles and miles. Now, this is her first collection of poems. The second will be much better than this. Now I am reminded of the words by Edith Sitwell. Poems are made of lines, lines are made of words. Dwelling on words, Edith Sitwell said that words are made up of vowels and consonants. Vowels and consonants. And she says, consonants clothe the word, whereas vowel is the spirit of the word. The right choice of the word is important for any writer, especially to poets, the right choice of words. So it is also said that consonants will help you to, accelerate or stop the flow of the sentence, whereas vowels will suggest the emotional connotations. So there is such a thing. Vowel is associated with the spirit and consonant associated with the body, the cloth of the words. So poems are made up of words. So one thing is, if you choose to be a writer of novel, of poetry, or short stories, the first thing is you should have a store of vocabulary. Store of vocabulary. When I read a poem, I don't read for the content of the poem. I always try to see whether it has anything to contribute to language, whether it has anything to give to language. What is its contribution to language? How is it different from others? You must have heard of the less traveled road by, two roads. You remember that? Whose poem? Yes. So I chose the less traveled one, and that made all the difference. I want her to choose the less traveled road. Don't use the oft-traveled road in poetry. So that first thing is a collection of words, and it is with nouns and adjectives that poems are made. Now, not prepositions or articles. It is with the nouns and adjectives. I needn't explain, I am a teacher, I have an inclination to take class. So when it is time to stop, you can tell me. The president can say it's time. Is it time? No. So, otherwise we'll forget. So with the adjective, I need not go into details. You must all have heard of the word solitary reaper, solitary song, etc. That is beautiful. So we don't have to write like romantic poets, but you should not give away. Don't sacrifice the theme or the music of the poem for the sake of rhyme scheme. Rhyme is not very essential. If you have a good thought, you can clothe it in beautiful language like adjectives. Adjectives are used, should be used. Then when you have vocabulary, you won't use the same word twice in a paragraph. If you are a writer, see, examine good writings. You should be able to find an antonym for that. Not the same word, noun or adjective, whatever it be. So that is one thing. And another, you must all have heard of metaphor. People say, the modern poets say that, ultra-modern poets, not modern poets, they say that these are not necessary to write poetry. They write poetry like prose. It is not, I don't read modern poetry as poems. They are prose pieces. Some words will be arranged in the shape of a poem, that's all. You can't call them pieces of poetry. And I say metaphor is good. Why I say metaphor? Using metaphor is not outmoded. I remember the first line of the poem Highwayman by Alfred Noyes. You must have all read it and noted. Highwayman, the road was a ribbon of moonlight. The road, I have no time to go into details. The road was a ribbon of moonlight. If I write, I will say in the moonlit night, the road looked like a white ribbon. Because he was a poet, he could compress it and say that the road was a ribbon of moonlight. How is it possible? In the same way, certain lines come from the past. I remember Blake's words. Blake, he has written, the modern writers, modern critics will ask you not to write like Blake, Wordsworth or Shelley, but I will ask you to choose what is best in them. So Blake, in his poem on sunflower, sunflower, one line, sunflower, weary of time, thou art counting the steps of the sun. Look at that, a Suryagandhi poem. Looking at that sunflower, the poet is asking, are you counting the steps of the sun? Weary of time, സമയം പോവാത്ത കാരണം നീ സൂര്യന്റെ കാലടി എണ്ണിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയാണോ? എന്ത് ബ്യൂട്ടിഫുൾ എക്സ്പ്രഷൻ. There is nothing called modern or ancient about it. Any person with poetic sensibility will feel that when she or he looks at the sunflower. Sunflower ഇങ്ങനെ സൂര്യനെ നോക്കി നിൽക്കുക. And the poet asks, are you counting the steps of the sun? ചോദിക്കണ്ടേ? Only he can ask, a poet can ask such questions. And again, when I'm reminded of a post-war poet, Dylan Thomas. Yes, in his poem, I remember it is Dylan, I'm not sure. There is a poem, Futility, it is not by, that is Wilfred Owen. I made a mistake. Wilfred Owen usually wrote about war and its terrible effect. And in one of his poems, Futility എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ പറഞ്ഞാലേ നമുക്ക് മനസ്സിലാവും. It is futile, it's useless. The futility of war. In what futility he says, was it for this that the clay grew tall? Was it for the Christian belief? So, was it for this that the clay grew tall, became so huge, big, gigantic? For what? For killing each other. So, why I gave you this example is, when you are full of emotions or something horrible in your mind, you use, usually it is found, not that you should use, it is found that the poets use monosyllabic words. One syllable. Was, one syllable. It, one syllable. For, one syllable. This, one syllable. That, one syllable. The clay, one syllable. Grew, one syllable. Tall. It's poignant feelings. When you want to express such deep feelings, you know, words of monosyllabic words will be more effective. That is it. Then I will finish in 5 minutes. Then I am reminded of the modern critic, Greenbooks. Some of you must have heard. Greenbooks and his well-wrought urn. That is his critical work, well-wrought urn. There he says, the language of poetry is the language of paradox. You may not accept me if I say that. Paradox is virodhavasam. Virodhavasam, paradox. Language as poetry is the language of paradox, he says. When you analyze some poems by great poets, you'll feel that it is true. Less is more, Lucretia, says Robert Browning in Andrea del Sarto. I don't know if you have gone through that poem. There is no time to tell you the story. It's an interesting story of a real painter who lived, Andrea del Sarto, and his wife was very cold. His wife was his model. He was a Florentine painter. His wife was his model always. He would have become a great painter like Michelangelo and Raphael, but he could not, because he couldn't give life in the eyes of his paintings, because his wife was his model. Wife was cold. Wife wanted money from this painter, Andrea del Sarto. Lucretia, that was the name of the wife. And she will be sitting there as a model, and while painting, she is distracted. She will hear the whistle of her lover. So, her picture, his picture lacked life. Then he hopes that perhaps in heaven I will get a place along with Michelangelo and Raphael. Immediately he says, no, I won't get, because I will be taking my wife when I go to heaven. So there also no hope. So less is more. What little you do for me will be more. But she refused to look at in the same way with warmth. So that's it. So less is more. It's a poignant expression. Again, I'll give you one more example. It was Wordsworth who said, child is father of man. You can interpret it as much as you can. Now I am winding up my words with 4 stages of composition, which I believe each writer, aspiring writer, a poet should bear in mind. 4 stages of writing. You can't sit here and write a poem on the audience gathered here. It will not be a poetry describing the expressions of all those who are gathered here. It cannot be poetry. But Shibi can write a poem on the audience gathered here when she goes home, when she is alone, and when she is traveling. sometimes some faces might, some expressions might come to her mind. So in a later period, she will be able to write on audience. Then that's the first stage. You know, you see something or you experience something. If you don't experience, it will be the experience of someone close to you. You should have the power of seeing, observation. The second is memory is a great thing, you know. You should put it in your memory. Memory is there. You know, many rooms, you can gather everything, not in order. There is no order in memory. What happened yesterday will come tomorrow. So it is there. Then memory, it is in the memory. You see something beautiful. You want to crystallize that moment, eternalize that moment. The only thing you can do is to write about it or paint it to crystallize that experience. So that is what poets do, writers do. So there is the memory. Third stage is imagination. Memory, from memory you can't write like that. That is, if you see a toddy shop on the way, if you go home tomorrow, write a poem on the toddy shop, how people quarreled there, drank, it will not be appealing to anyone. So later on, color it with your imagination if you have imagination. Use your imagination, change it. That will be a transformation. There should be that imagination. Then the last stage is expression. You are giving, you know, without your knowledge, you know. If I wrote something, I haven't written much. It was while I was making dosha in the morning. I didn't have time to sit and write. I didn't have time to take a paper and pen and announce that, see, I am going to write a poem. Because women will have no time, usually. So in the morning hours, there will be no one to disturb you in the kitchen. While making dosha, your mind is active. So when my husband is very much interested in music, he'll be with the music there, then I will advise him to lessen the sound. Appa ചോദിക്കും ഈ ദോശ ഉണ്ടാക്കാൻ എന്താ ഡിസ്ട്രാക്ഷൻ പാട്ടിന്റെ ശബ്ദം. But my mind is active now, creative. So I feel it, the song as a disturbance at that time. So when I write it in the mind, later on, when I am free, when I have no one else to disturb me, I go to write. That's it. So these, don't take it as a rule to write poetry. It is not that. That's what my feelings I am sharing with you. That's all. That's how you will be able to write. Anyway, my advice to Shibi is read, and you have to enrich your vocabulary. That's the first thing. Then reflect, and then react, then give expression. That will be. There is one poem which I forgot to, something about a bride, you know. That is unfortunate bride. It's something, you know. It went straight to my heart. The bride was so happy. That day was her wedding day. She seemed very happy, and finally what happens? She realizes she becomes a wooden doll. Think of that. It's a very small poem, throwing light on the miserable plight of brides in Kerala, in India. So she has not excluded that from her collection of poems. That's what I felt. A poem is to be interpreted. It is for the readers to interpret. She will mean something, but we will get something else. Anyway, wishing her all the best, I close my words. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Parvathy. she referred to that particular line, each moment, a drop of silence. Actually, I also thought of putting that line forward. And along with that particular line, I had in my mind another line, the silent childhood solitude. That is another line from the which poem and Raymond. Now, I request Natasha to say a few words. I also request her, she is a poet, to recite one of her poems. Natasha will recite her poem also.
ആദ്യം തന്നെ എന്നെ പുസ്തക പ്രകാശന ചടങ്ങിലേക്ക് ക്ഷണിച്ച എല്ലാവരോടും ഞാൻ നന്ദി പറയുകയാണ്. പിന്നീട് ഏതൊരു മേഖലയിലായാലും എപ്പോഴും ആൺമേൽക്കോയ്മയുള്ള ഒരു സമൂഹമാണ്. അവിടേക്കൊരു പെണ്ണെഴുത്ത് കടന്നു വരിക എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് തന്നെ വളരെ സന്തോഷമുള്ള, വളരെ അഭിമാനം തോന്നുന്ന ഒരു കാര്യം. അതേപോലെ തന്നെ കവിതകൾ എപ്പോഴും വാക്കുകൾ, അത് എഴുതുന്ന വാക്കുകളിലൂടെ സംസാരിക്കുന്നതിനപ്പുറം അത് സംസാരിക്കുന്ന ഒരു ഇമോഷൻ ഉണ്ട്. അത് സംസാരിക്കുന്ന വാക്കുകൾക്കിടയിലൂടെ വായനക്കാരിലേക്ക് എത്തുന്ന അതിൻ്റെ കവിയുടെ ഇമോഷൻസ് ഉണ്ട്. അതെത്തിക്കാനായിട്ട് കവിക്ക് സാധിച്ചു എന്ന് ഞാൻ വിശ്വസിക്കുന്നു. എനിക്ക് എങ്ങനെയാണ് തോന്നിയത്. അതേപോലെ തന്നെ ഓട്ടം എന്ന് പറയുന്നൊരു കവിത വായിച്ചപ്പോൾ തോന്നിയ ഒരു കാര്യമുണ്ട്. മനുഷ്യന്റെ ജീവിതത്തിന്റെ ലൈഫ് സ്പാനിനെ തന്നെയാണ് പറഞ്ഞുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നത്. മനുഷ്യന്റെ അഹങ്കാരങ്ങളെല്ലാം ഒരിക്കൽ മണ്ണിൽ തന്നെ അലിഞ്ഞു ചേരുമെന്ന് പറയുന്ന ഒരു കോൺസെപ്റ്റ്, അത് വളരെ യൂണിവേഴ്സൽ ആയിട്ടുള്ള റോബർട്ട് പോസ്റ്റ് ഒക്കെ പറഞ്ഞു വെക്കാനായിട്ട് ശ്രമിച്ചിട്ടുള്ള കോൺസെപ്റ്റാണ്. അതുപോലെ ട്രാവലോഗ് എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ഒരു കവിത വായിച്ചപ്പോൾ അതിൽ ശരിക്കും അവര് സഞ്ചരിക്കുകയല്ല ചെയ്യുന്നത്. അവര് സ്ത്രീയുടെ മനസ്സ് ഏറ്റവും സഞ്ചരിക്കാനായിട്ട് ആഗ്രഹിക്കുകയാണ്. സ്ത്രീയുടെ മനസ്സ് പലപ്പോഴും ജീവിത സാഹചര്യങ്ങൾ കൊണ്ടും അതേപോലെയുള്ള സിറ്റുവേഷൻസ് കൊണ്ടും സ്ത്രീകൾക്ക് ഒരിക്കലും സഞ്ചരിക്കാൻ സാധിക്കുന്നില്ല. എപ്പോഴും യാത്രകളും സ്ത്രീകൾക്കെന്നും അനുവദിക്കപ്പെട്ടിട്ടില്ല. അവിടെ സ്ത്രീയുടെ മനസ്സ് സഞ്ചരിക്കുന്നു എന്നുള്ളത്, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഈ പരിമിതികളെല്ലാം, ഫിസിക്കലായിട്ടുള്ള പരിമിതികളെല്ലാം മറികടന്നുകൊണ്ട് സ്ത്രീയുടെ മനസ്സ് സഞ്ചരിക്കുന്നു, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ കവിതകളിലൂടെ അവൾക്ക് എത്തേണ്ട അവളുടെ ഡെസ്റ്റിനേഷനുകളിലേക്ക് അവൾ എത്തുന്നു എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ആ കവിതയും വളരെ എൻലൈറ്റനിങ് ആയിട്ട് തോന്നിയിട്ടായിരിക്കാം. നല്ലതും മോശപ്പെട്ടതായിട്ടുള്ള മെമ്മറീസ് ഉണ്ടായിരിക്കാം. അതിലവസാനം പറയുന്നുണ്ട്, ഇംപ്യൂർ ആയിട്ടുള്ള മെമ്മറീസിനെ എടുത്തു കളഞ്ഞിട്ട് പ്യുവർ ആയിട്ടുള്ള മെമ്മറീസിനെ സ്റ്റോർ ചെയ്യണം. പക്ഷെ അതിനോട് ഞാൻ യോജിക്കുന്നില്ല. കാരണം പലപ്പോഴും നമ്മളെ ഏറ്റവും ഹാപ്പിയസ്റ്റ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള മെമ്മറീസ് ആയിരിക്കില്ല നമ്മൾ ആരാണെന്നുള്ളത് ക്രിയേറ്റ് ചെയ്ത്. നമ്മുടെ ഏറ്റവും മോശപ്പെട്ടിട്ടുള്ള സന്ദർഭങ്ങളായിരിക്കും, ജീവിതത്തിലുണ്ടായ ഏറ്റവും മോശമായിട്ടുള്ള സന്ദർഭങ്ങളായിരിക്കാം ഞാൻ ആരാണ്, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു മനുഷ്യൻ ആരാണ്, അവന് എന്താണ് ആയിത്തീർന്നത് എന്നതിൽ അവനെ കൊണ്ടെത്തിക്കുന്നത്. അതേപോലെ തന്നെ കവിതകൾ ഒരിക്കലും നമ്മളൊരു ചാരുകസാരയിലിരുന്ന് അതിന്റെ ആലസ്യത്തിലിരുന്ന് വായിച്ച് രസിക്കാനുള്ളതാണെന്ന് ഞാൻ വിശ്വസിക്കുന്നില്ല. കവിതകൾ എപ്പോഴും വിപ്ലവങ്ങൾ സൃഷ്ടിക്കാനുള്ളതും മനുഷ്യന്മാരെ ചിന്തിപ്പിക്കാനുള്ളതായിട്ടുള്ളതാണ് കവിതകൾ. അതിന് സാധിച്ചു എന്ന് ഞാൻ വിശ്വസിക്കുന്നു. ഞാൻ എൻ്റെ ഒരു കവിത വായിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് ഞാൻ നിർത്താം. വളരെ സ്റ്റീരിയോടിപ്പിക്കൽ ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു സൊസൈറ്റിയിലാണ് നമ്മൾ ജീവിച്ചു പോരുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ ആ സൊസൈറ്റിനോട് വരുന്ന യങ്ങർ ജനറേഷൻ എപ്പോഴും റെബലിയസ് ആയിട്ടാണ് നിന്നിട്ടുള്ളത്. അപ്പോൾ ആ ഒരു യങ് ജനറേഷന്റെ ഒരു കവിതയായിട്ടാണ് ഞാനത് പറയുന്നത്. പലപ്പോഴും ഞങ്ങൾ ആഗ്രഹിക്കുന്ന, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു ഡിഫറെൻ്റ് ആയിട്ട് ഞങ്ങൾ ആഗ്രഹിക്കുന്ന, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ നമ്മൾ പലരും ആഗ്രഹിക്കുന്ന ഒരു ലോകമാണ്, ലൈക്ക് നമ്മുടെ ഉള്ളിൽ നമുക്ക് വേണ്ടി നമ്മൾ തീർത്തിട്ടുള്ള ലോകം. അതിനെക്കുറിച്ചാണ് ഞാൻ കവിത എഴുതാനായിട്ട് ശ്രമിച്ചിട്ടുള്ളത്. Sinner's Paradise. I welcome you to my Sinner's Paradise, where you can dance on your heels freely, where no one is perfect, where love is not a crime, but a seducing drug to my veins, where hearts set on fire, bodies break limits, where lust has no rules, where you can flip over your inhibitions, where your scars won't be judged, where you can scream at the top of your heart, where you can set your thoughts free, where you don't have to shut your soul down, where your souls won't be teased, where you will be safe. Welcome to my Sinner's Paradise, where no one makes rules for you, but everybody will be dancing naked. Thank you.
Thank you, Natasha. Now, Dr. Biju will say a few words, his reflections
Ms. Shibi, distinguished guests, dear friends. First of all, I would like to wish Ms. Shibi all the success in her poetic sojourn, her journey into poetic imagination in future. And it should be this first event, this book, should be a proper beginning, an inaugural occasion to her coming ventures in poetry. Wish you all success in that now. I have absolutely no idea what to say about this collection, because there are so many important factors to be mentioned. And the first important feature, salient feature of her work is that her poems are very short and precise, and often reminds us of Shakespeare's famous brevity is the soul of wit. Her longest poem is just 6 stanzas. And I believe this precision in selecting her words and images is particularly important in shaping up a series of very interesting poems. The second factor is all of her poems are very personalized, intimate, and at times, though it defies sort of conversation, there is a very powerful undercurrent of a conversation in between in all her poems. I sensed this capacity to converse with herself, maybe her inner self, her alter ego, whatever. Her capacity to converse with the other self from her last poem in this collection, The Soulmate. I.Shanmughadas also, Parvathy ma'am also recited this particular poem because that's a very important landmark in this collection. In Soulmate, I was wondering whether who is the soulmate. And finally I found poetry itself is her soulmate. Charles Baudelaire wrote a very small poem with the title Correspondence. In French and in English there is correspondence. It is, he tries to portray a sort of a correspondence between his material self and nature and the other self which is present in nature, etc. So this sort of a conversation is phenomenal in bringing together various metaphors and images in her poems. And also, of course, other dignitaries here have already spoken about this particular quality of intimacy, personalization, everything in her poetry. Third and most important for me is the fact that Ms. Shibi has written in English. You might wonder why it was special about writing in English. Because our poets in our time, who are trying to write in English, are writing in an entirely different English. I think you're all familiar with Indulekha, the novel, Chandramena's novel, in which poorly the uncle, forgot his name, asked Indulekha to marry a Brahmin. Then Indulekha said, Amava, yenda vivaham jnanalle thiruvanikkattathu. It is in Malayalam, not in English, but the uncle said, Ada Ingirius Purapadatu. That was not English as a language, but that conceived the essence of English, the political essence of English, that a woman interpreted at that time, at the end of the 19th century. So, language, English language has many roles in India, particularly in Kerala. Many people, wrote English yesterday. I.Shanmughadas was talking about Manjeri Ishwaraya, or the person who wrote in English long years back. Then I believe that the kind of English used by those poets of those times were using an entirely different language. And our poets, English poets, are forced to use a different set of idioms in formulating their language. For example, our contemporary poets, writers, poets writing in English from Kerala or Malayalis, like Dr. Shamsudhagar or my friend Ambat Koshi, Aditya Shankar, to cite the names of quite a few important writers of our time. And Ravi Shankar, who's writing Ravish poetry. Shibi.S is actually trying to emerge into the strata of all these writers, the terrain of all these writers. All these writers, poets who are writing in English from Kerala, or envisaging a Kerala imagination, a Malayali imagination, etc. I refer to the importance of English while referring to this book is personally very important for me. After reading her poems, I was really disturbed to think of a very important poet who initiated a new language, a new English language in poetic creation in Kerala, in Malayalam. The person, a poet who was writing from Kerala. He passed away a few days back. Mr. T.G.Ajitha.
Kind of silence in this cacophony world, and as Parvathy Varrier has clearly told, once you are putting on the TV at 8 a.m. and all about the debate, people will be quarreling each other, and cacophony. You cannot put the serious, or you cannot put the any prime time debates and all nowadays. And she wants to escape from that cacophony, and she wants to live in a very peaceful way, eternal peace. And all she is yearning for. That is what a prayer for eternal peace. In that she has very nicely put those words. Memories, free our minds from thoughts and make it like a clean vessel, which carries not imbued that, but that holds pure clean water. She is telling that her heart is very empty, and she wants to receive whatever is good is possible, and the foreign life and the autumn are more of the two of them are almost similar. The epoch of life is a drama where each one has a role to play. Life is a game where each one has to play well. This reminds me of William Shakespeare's "The life is a tale told by an idiot, full of joy and fury, signifying nothing." So sometimes we all fighting with each other, or so many aspects and all will be having in mind, and we will be fighting with each other, all these things and all. But it is told by an idiot, full of joy and fury, signifying nothing. William Shakespeare has told that. So lives nowadays have become useless or anything and all. So we have to come together to make our life worthwhile while we are in this on the earth. And one more thing I want to say is she was mentioning when we are disturbed we cannot write. She has told, Parvathy Varrier has told so many stages of writing the poetry. First you listen, then imagination, then painting or something, then you start writing. So like that, But in Andhra Pradesh we find Astavadhanam or Shatavadhanam. That means 100 people will be there. A poet will be there. in the center, and Ashtavadana, 8 Vrichakas will be there. 8 people will be asking him to write various forms of poetry. So he will be, at that time itself, immediately he will be writing that. It can be about a cinema star who is beautiful, about any recent activity like that. I think in Malayalam also it is there or not, I don't know. But in Andhra, we have Ashtavadana, Shatavadana means 100 people will be there. And he will be asking about a very, what is it called? Some very some songs will be there, very some songs which cannot be told in the audience and all. Those songs and all these people will be asking to write again and into different chandas grammar, different grammar. They ask them, and the poet will be able to write that this thing. Otherwise, you will be defeated. So like that, once you are started, she has started her journey with around 50 poems, and I think I advise her as a brother to write into Malayalam also. And when I asked her how many days she has taken, she said, please, 6 years she has taken this. Normally, whenever we try to start writing poetry or anything, we'll be writing 1 or 2 stanzas or something, then we will not like it and we will put it in the dustbin. And even if we are able to succeed in writing the poems and all, our family members will discourage. Here is our batchmate who has encouraged her to write poetry, and she was a working woman, and she has to raise her child. She has to be a wife of very busy husband like Biju, and she has maintained. She has written this 50 or 60 poems and able to publish it and come for releasing functions and all. So it is not a joke for a woman in Kerala. And I also came to know that Parvathy Madam and T.G.Ajitha, these people also have written poetry, and Natasha, young budding poetess, these people are also into poetry. So I wish them all the best. And from Andhra Pradesh, I have brought you all goodness may happen to you in the literary and as well as your personal life. And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to convey my regards. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Varrier. Now, Ajitha teacher will say a few words about the book. Now she is, apart from being a teacher like most of us, teaching English, she is also a poet, and there is one collection of her poems in Malayalam, and that is Aval Maragan.
I know it's a bit late. Respected dignitaries on and off the dais, and the very star of the day, Shibi. Good evening. I'm so happy to be here, one among the few personalities, to launch a great book, that is the Self-Portrat. And I'm very happy to share the stage with my most respected teacher, I.Shanmughadas sir. I wish Shibi all the best for her writing, and may hope that the books will be read by everybody. Why read book? Because it should know. We should know what it consists of. When I bought the book from Salim, given to him by Gireesh, and then all those books, but she says that, Papa, in that book, Papa, you are not sure how to be great, but you told me to be great. That is the situation of the women in general. Everybody wants them to be great, but they don't know how to make them great. That anxieties, that agonies and the pangs of the heart They are very clearly pictured in this poems. It is personal in a sense, at the same time we can connect it with the universal being of a woman who has to play multifaceted roles in her life. She be the woman, she be the wife, she be the mother, she be the teacher. She has to cope up with many roles, being a professional at the same time. She has to be the homemaker. That pangs of life, that pangs of her inner being is clearly pictured in this poem. I wish to look these poems like that. That is the gist of this little book, seemingly detailed, but it has a great content in those lines. Everybody has told you about so many poems, and I just want to point out one poem that nobody has told about it. Along with the Spider, that is the most interesting poem according to me in this collection. Along with the Spider, you may feel that it's a seemingly very innocent, simple incident. No gimmick of words, no embellishment of languages. It's a simple incident that one day when she comes home, a web falls on her face and a spider just bites on her tip of the nose. But that simple incident, she connects it with a great thing. Just know, along with the spider, thy name is Spider, who knits the perfect web and lives in the middle of the web you weave. The first four lines are, thy name is Spider. It is she who names that spider. That is, it is your name. Your name is Spider. The spider doesn't know what its name is. Thy name is Spider. There is a humor, a little bit fun there. Thy name is Spider. She says that it is your name. You are a spider. And what is the duty of the spider? You are knitting a perfect web and sitting inside it. You are knitting a web and sitting in the middle of it. We human beings are just like that. We are knitting the web and we sit amidst of it, and we are always worried about we are trapped. Just like that, she says that your name is Spider, you are weaving the web and you are sitting in the middle of it. And the next stanza is quite common, that when she opened the gate, and then the spider web holds on her face, and there is a bit of the spider on the tip of the nose, and she scratches it. And that scratching, continuous scratching of something, makes a wound on the tip of her nose. But the irony is that she is connecting it with a great thing. But when I made a wound like the wound in my heart, the little wound on the tip of the nose is connected with a great wound in her heart. What a comparison. I like that very much. We people all have that wounds in our heart. So it is a seemingly simple statement. It is very clear thing. It is an apparent thing. And she is connecting it with something that we cannot see. It is hidden inside. It's a wound in her heart. The her, when we say that it is in inverted commas, it is simply, it is not in the inverted comma. That her or she or woman, it is in general human being, we the people. That is, we are, but that bite is scratching and scratching and scratching, and it becomes more and more large. And that wound is compared to that wound in her heart. But she says that by the passage of time, that wound on her nose, tip of the nose is faded away. But that wound in her heart is still there. It cannot be faded so easily. It cannot be disappeared so easily. Such is the fact of that wound in her. So I like this poem very much in the sense that that wound is in our heart. I just go back to Mamta Kalia in one of her poems, after 8 years of marriage. She simply says that when she comes home after 8 years, her parents ask her, "Are you happy?" And she is wonderstruck and then thinks about, am I happy or not? She thinks of her surroundings, she thinks of her people, and she thinks of her children, and says that I am living amid the 12 in-laws. am I happy? Then she simply says that yes. That yes, for that yes, to answer that yes, a woman has to pay a lot. To answer you, when you ask us, are you happy? We say yes. That yes, we have to compromise a lot. That compromise is written. We are happy indeed, but that compromise is the answer of why this mellowed sadness, the melancholic note is permeated all her poems. So, I wish Shibi all the best for her future, be a poet. And one more thing, that is so many things are often repeated in a line. Yellow leaves, for example, life is beautiful, black girl. I think these words and phrases are repeated, even though it is very apt for the situation. I think just to avoid, it is better to avoid the repetition of such words in a single collection. As it is her debut collection poetry, I think it is good, and I hope that she will be in the heights of glory being a poet, and as ma'am has wished her and miles to go before. It is not usually you reach a height, and then happy to be once more. I thank you all for hearing me. Thank you very much.
Now, Teacher, the poet Shibi.S. will say a few words for us.
Good evening all. Respected dignitaries on the dais, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am really excited to be here today. I am sitting with many eminent personalities. I consider this moment in my life as a very precious one. I want to begin by thanking my publisher, Greenbooks, and everyone who made this book possible. It's been a long journey, and I couldn't have done it without all of your support. Thank you all for coming. It's a big day. Hope all goes the best. My book is a poetry collection, English poetry collection, the Self-Portrat, which consists of 50 poems, everything related to me. I believe I have been true to my conscience and have written what I felt was important for my readers to know. It's my first book. My thoughts are my poems. I have always considered myself as unfortunate, struggling to come up in life with inner cries unheard by people around me. You know, I was a teacher in English at Nalanda Public School, Kochi, teaching +2 classes. I joined Nalanda Public School in the year 2000 and I left the school. I resigned my job in the year 2016. I was there at Nalanda Public School for a long 16 years. After my resignation, I used to sit alone in my house. When my husband went to work and my son, he would go to his college for his studies. I started reading books. Once when I was reading a book, Suddenly, certain thoughts came to my mind, and I stretched out my hands for a pen and wrote or scribbled a few lines in a piece of paper in memory of Nalanda Public School. The Fallen Leaf. That was my first poem. I have always considered my school as a big tree with a large number of leaves, leaves being each and every member of the school, including myself. When it was time for me to fall down from the tree, being a leaf, I just fell down. Things won't kick back. Words which I showered upon my children, thoughts which I pondered over, let them grind my mind to achieve a peaceful heart. Poetry, reading and writing have some sort of healing power. My poems are poems about anger. They are poems about my loneliness and my sufferings. They are poems about my forlorn wishes. I think my poems are simple poems which come from the stuff of my days of despair, frustration, and alienation. Frustration originates from a sort of uncertainty or insecurity which comes from a sense of inability to fulfill needs. If the needs of a person are blocked by someone, some sort of uncertainty, uneasiness or insecurity are more likely to happen. Writing about your feelings is the best method to come out of your frustrations. I must say that I believe my poems, frustration itself is the theme of my poems. Writing is the best method to come out of our frustrations. Poetry helped me to come out of or release my tensions and frustrations. My situations in my life worried me a lot after my mother's demise. I learned many things from my personal experience after my mother's death. I struggled a lot after my mother's demise. Being the elder child in the family, I have a brother, a younger brother. Being the elder child in the family, I had to find out solutions for many problems which came up. I had to take up the responsibility of my father, who became alone after my mother's demise. I used to cry for no reason. I used to get angry with everyone at home. But now I am happy because my brother finished his studies, he got married, he is now living happily with his family. My father is also living happily and peacefully with my brother's family. Once daughters get married, they are not expected to support their parents. Many parents are embarrassed to take support from their daughters after their marriage. Why? What if my father or my parents didn't have a son or couldn't support themselves. What happens to the parents who have only one daughter or who have only female kids? Who is supposed to support them? Maybe the society needs to rethink their perspectives. We are in 2022, but our mind still in 1600s or 1700s. We are slowly becoming a very selfish generation. We are thinking only about earning ourselves and don't seem to understand the sacrifices which our parents made to make us this level. I hope this selfishness doesn't penetrate too much, because I believe that as you sow, so you reap. I used to think about all these in those days of my worry. Now I am happy, I am matured now. I used to cry because I was immature. Now I am matured. Life is a mixture of happiness and sorrow, I learned. You know, my husband used to help me in my struggles in those days. He used to console me. He used to pacify me. We adjusted a lot in those days of my worry. Now we are happily living in our own home. I learned many things from my personal experiences. I learned many things. I learned that we should not give up when problems come. Be an inspiring woman, inspiring to your husband and children. Both men and women have equal potential to do things. At the same time, the problems they face are same. We should not give up when problems come. Nobody wants a person who is a Debbie Downer or will not support others in their times of need. So we should not give up. We should help others in their times of need. Otherwise, we may feel that we are wooden dolls freely jumping to and fro. I know that I'm exactly on the right way now. Everything was upright in my life. Now I feel that my home is a paradise with comfort and tranquility, where we live happily with love, magnifying peace and prosperity. Whom shall I thank? I think I must thank God for all these grateful seasons. Let all be achievers. There might not be any losers in this game of life. Thank you. Now it's my turn to propose vote of thanks. Respected Sri I.Shanmughadas, thank you, sir, for presiding over this today's discussion. It was not possible without your motivation. Thank you very much, sir, for your valuable presence. Next, I would like to thank our chief guest, Dr.Parvathy Varrier, poet and professor. Ma'am, I listened very carefully to your speech. I'm really motivated. You congratulated me, you appreciated me for my poetry collection. You told that I have to go miles and miles. Sure, I will try my level best to achieve that goal. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming over here and being with us this evening. It was a beautiful evening. Thank you very much. Next, I would like to thank Dr.C.S. Biju, Director, Media Studies Center, St.Thomas College. Sir, it was not possible without your highly sparkling words. Thank you very much for your inspirational words. Thank you, sir. Next, I would like to thank the budding poet, Natasha Padma. I listened to your poem. You are a very good poet. You are going to become a very wonderful poet. I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. Next, I would like to thank Srimati Ajitha T.G., poet and writer, for accepting this invitation and being with us this evening. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for explaining along with the spider. Thank you for your speech. Thank you, Reddy. Next, I would like to thank Thrissur Chalachitra Kendram for giving us an opportunity to gather here today. We couldn't have done this without your generosity. Thank you very much, Thrissur Chalachitra Kendram. Next, I would like to thank all those who have worked behind this to organize this event, especially Sri Gireesh Kumar PB. I offer a very sincere gratitude, Sri Gireesh Kumar PB, for organizing this event. Thank you very much. Last but not the least, I would like to thank the audience for your patient listening. Thank you very much. And above all, I would like to thank my husband, Biju. He is the one who advised me to publish these poems. He was always with me when we decided to publish these poems. He was the one who have arranged everything for me for this book. He was always with me. Thank you very much, Biju. Thank you, Ashish, for coming with us. Thank you all once again.